Howdy folks, it's Matthew, your friendly neighborhood technician, and I'm making a third video for the series, for the video series of the Ford 3.5 liter water pump timing chain replacement. And so, just to kind of recap video 1 and video 2, we started by removing the upper intake and the valve covers. Wasn't too hard of a job. There's just a lot of electrical connectors in there and whatnot. There's just a lot of little stuff that has to be taken apart. Just to kind of go over some of the notes, make sure on the valve cover bolts, okay, you're gonna have your little plastic zip tie, I'm trying to figure out what to call it, connector or whatever, that holds your wiring harness. Bottom line is you're gonna have to break those to remove your wiring harness and then unscrew them off because they're threaded onto those studs there. So no big deal there. Just go buy you a new pack. They're not expensive at all. You know, I don't know at this point if you've chosen the method of marking your electrical connectors. Good job, way to go. Whether you use pen or a tape or anything like that, I don't mark my electrical connectors. I just kind of take a photographic picture of everything in my head and just put it all back together. And so yeah, valve covers, upper intake, that's off. At this point, we're looking at starting to work on the front of the engine, and one of the things that needs to come off is going to be that engine mount there. And so I actually got online and did a little research, and there's quite a few other videos and step-by-steps and how-tos on this, but the one thing I didn't see is what method people prefer or chose to support the engine after you remove that mount. Do not just allow the engine to hang in there, because you're going to end up stressing out the mounts back here towards the transmission and all that other stuff, just to keep it simple. So you've got to support this engine in one form or fashion. Now you could go underneath. Okay, and here, I'll just go ahead and crawl underneath here with you. Let's crawl underneath here real quick. Just take a peek at something. Let me get the flash on. There we go. Okay, you could go underneath and I guess put a block and use your oil pan to support it, but I absolutely dislike that method. And I'm not saying I agree with it or I disagree with it. I don't want to get into a debate about, oh, just throw a transmission, or just throw a jack underneath there and put a block between it and supported by the oil pan. I don't want to get into that. The reason why I don't like it is because I used to do that, and I probably did that to 500 cars, and then one day I just so happened to have that one car that it cracked the aluminum oil pan when I blocked it up and stuff. And after that, I decided, nope, I'm no longer going to support engines with a jack and a block. But if you have a jack and a block and that's the only option you have, go for it. What I prefer to use is an engine support bar. You can buy them cheap. And when it comes to a piece of equipment like this, it doesn't matter whether you have a $5,000 piece of equipment or a $120 piece of equipment. It is what it is. It's an engine support bar. So pick you one up, and then I'm using an engine plate and a couple bolts, and I'm just going to put a chain between here and here. I'm not necessarily going to lift it, although I could use this and adjust it to raise it and lower it if I need to, but more than likely I'm just going to leave it there. And so then that way all that stress isn't on the other engine mounts, and then I can disconnect my engine mount. But before I do that, before you set this up, go ahead and take everything apart and off that you're going to need to take apart and off in order to get down to this engine mount. And I'll obviously make a video here and show you how to remove all of this stuff. And so that's where we're at next. Also, moving forward in preparation, I put the vehicle up on jack stands, and always put your tire, if you're taking a tire off, always put your tire underneath the frame. that rim, if this car were to fall, it won't crush that rim, and it'll give you that much more of a safety spot to get out from underneath it, and then put your jack stand underneath there and go from there. Don't ever just rely on a jack or a jack stand or anything like that. Always have a safety measure, and a car rim is always a good safety measure. So remove your passenger side tire. Now we're going to get in here, and I'm going to opt to go ahead and choose to remove at least this rubber flap here, because we're going to have to eventually get in and remove the crankshaft bolt and all that other stuff. We may remove the fender well, I'm not sure yet. But bottom line is go ahead and get it jacked up and remove your tire. And now that you got it in the air, it's also a good time to go ahead and remove your front shield right here. All right, and you'll see this big bracket. Basically, that is for the radiator, and on the driver's side of this bracket, that's your actual drain right there, and there's your pitcock. Okay, so I just got in here with a 19 millimeter wrench, and again, that's a 19 millimeter wrench. Loosened that and drained the coolant from here. So again, if you have the option and the means and the ability to, get yourself an engine support bar and start making preparations to support the engine. Once you got that figured out on how you're going to do that, go ahead and start removing everything on the passenger side, your coolant tanks, get all the room you need to get in there to work, including your engine mount. Also, drain your radiator at this point and remove your front tire so you can get in there to work. And so all that should allow us to start moving forward. All right, folks. Well, the next video is going to show us removing everything on the passenger side of the engine here, or aka the front of the engine, getting everything out of the way so we can work freely, and we'll just go from there. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for watching and supporting me. This is Matthew, your friendly neighborhood technician, signing off.